From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Well, good morning, everyone. The first question I want to ask you is, do you see it? I want you to take a look at this picture, and I want you to see if you can see anything within these clouds. All right, I want to thank Debbie Mitchell for this fun little game we're starting off with this morning. If you look in the very center of the picture, you might see something here. You might see a couple of eyes, maybe a nose, maybe a little smiley face, maybe even, if you're even super creative, a hand that's waving. All right, so look closely. I'm going to advance to the next one, and you can see it. There it is. She's got a little smiley face right there, the nose, the eyes, and if you look close, so again, kind of compare the two. So I want to thank Debbie Mitchell for sharing her creativity. And yeah, I mean, once she kind of puts the picture in there for you, you can clearly see the nose and the two little eyes and even the little smirky little smile right there. Kind of fun. All right, if you want to share your photos, it's really easy. Just do it from the free Weather NorCal app, and you can have fun like Debbie did. Maybe a cool cloud picture, a sunrise, a sunset. You know, and as much hate to say it, if you happen to have some interesting photos of the fires, any of the fires around the area, also good to get that as well. So again, go to Weather NorCal in your app store. Just search for Weather NorCal, and you can download the app for free and share your photos. All right, let's get you to Kruger's Quickcast. And just for those of you that want the forecast real quickly, here it is. Let's get you out the door this morning. You can see those temperatures are going to be in the low 70s for the valley at 8 o'clock this morning, mainly in the 60s for the higher elevations. And we do have, once again, still that fog on the coast, but some of that may clear out in the afternoon. How about that smoke? A little hazy for some of us for these areas here, but not that bad. Most of the smoke is really pretty much going to continue to be where it has been, mainly near or around the Chester and Susanville area. So your forecast for today, you can see those temperatures are going to be kind of hovering around 100 degrees here. Once again, though, some of those delta influenced areas may stay just below 100 degrees here. Otherwise, just a little over 100. Not much change really from yesterday when we're talking about those temperatures. And when we look at your 7-day outlook, there you can, of course, see those temperatures are on the downward trend. We're not going to see much change from today to tomorrow. So we kind of keep it fairly hot, at least through the first half of the weekend. But then everyone in the valley will be below 100 degrees by Sunday. And temperatures, look at that, in the low 90s by the time we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. We'll certainly take it. The coast still in the low to mid 60s for the next 7 days. Mainly mostly cloudy skies, starting to really see that morning drizzle and fog. And then, of course, through the afternoon, that dissipates a little bit here. Inland temperatures are dropping as well. You'll be in the 80s by Monday, but for Weaverville, most likely staying at least in the low 90s. I think at some points you could drop down to the upper 80s here at points during next week. Taking a look at Mount Shasta, Alturas, and Susanville, still a bit hazy off to the north and east of the fire. Otherwise, mainly sunny skies, and those temperatures also dropping there, mainly in the 80s by the time we get into early next week, and low 80s, looks like by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right, that's your Kruger's Quickcast. Let's get to your headlines, a deeper dive forecast to see what's going on out there. So the cooling trend, it's begun. It's still going to be hot out there. You'll notice that, but we do have a slight dip in our temperatures this weekend, even cooler by next week, but no significant rain or even thunderstorms are in the forecast. The rain would be nice, right? Significant rain would be nice, but thunderstorms typically this time of the year are associated with the rain that we do see. All right, let's take a look at the park fire here, what it looked like yesterday, that heat signature. And yeah, I mean, this has been really the standard all week long, is we've seen the fire for the most part, not every night, but for the most part, it relaxes at least a little bit. But then in the afternoon, we start to see it pop up again. And we're seeing those towering clouds. Now, here's the thing. On Monday, it was the worst. I mean, you saw it throughout the day. You saw this towering plume of smoke, and of course that just made things worse. We saw the towering plumes of smoke over the last few days, maybe just not as high, but still some fairly impressive heat signatures coming out of it. Now again, the good thing is we are seeing overnight, even this morning, you see how the heat signature is not nearly as hot. So again, it is showing signs of relaxing in those overnight hours, and of course this morning as well. the latest heat signature, which actually came in at 3 o'clock this morning. So this is fairly recent that we're looking at as I'm recording this. So as we're seeing here, the areas in black, those are the containment lines. Those are areas we don't necessarily need to worry a whole lot about. It's mainly this area here. So you think about the fire perimeter over the weekend. You take all of this whole arm off, because this is what's been growing, and most of it grew on Monday, and then we've been watching it slowly progressing northeastward here up until this point. All right, so let's zoom it in here a little bit closer on that arm, because that's the main area of concern. This, of course, is the Mill Creek drainage that we're seeing right here. So really a combination of a few things of why it was able to grow so quickly. Number one, plenty of dry fuels. I mean, a lot of dry fuels out there. But the terrain was very difficult for the firefighters to get in there and really fight that fire. But it was also very hot and very dry. So the combination of all of that just allowed this to really take off very quickly toward the mineral area, and not to mention Mill Creek. Now, here's the good part out of all of this. You look at this and that's pretty scary. There's mineral, there's Mill Creek, you've got Childs Meadows, right? I mean, it's approaching all these areas. But through the week, the firefighters have been doing what they call fire operations. And what they do is they burn areas intentionally around these communities or near these communities, or areas where they don't want the fire to go beyond. What that does is it gives the fire, as it approaches, less fuel to burn, and then that slows it down a little bit and gives them a little bit of a head start in getting a handle on the fire. Now, what's happened over the last few days is you see this Highway 36, Highway 172, Highway 89, this whole area kind of surrounded by the highways, right? This has been kind of filling in more and more, but where we didn't want it to fill in and hasn't filled in yet is Mill Creek. We did see somebody who drove through this area here, especially Mill Creek Resort, where there are some cabins, and the structures were all okay for the most part. Now again, no confirmation as to whether or not anything was damaged or burned, but this right here, this is the efforts of the firefighters protecting Mill Creek. I mean, just hands down to them, that's phenomenal. Now, it hasn't made its way to mineral yet, but again, they're doing everything they can to prevent that from happening. But you can see at this point, we look at Highway 36 right here. Of course, that's where it meets Highway 89. So it hasn't moved north of Highway 36 or north of Highway 89. So obviously their goal is going to be, hey, don't let it go past that. So they're probably doing everything they can to prevent that from happening. Now, it has moved to the east side of Highway 172. Some of this may be firing operations to maybe protect Childs Meadows, but of course I can't say that for sure. But the bottom line is we haven't seen any major devastation in these communities at this point. Now, they're obviously going to have to go in there and analyze everything, but so far, so good. But there you can see here, we are looking at that fire continuing to spread to the north and to the east. All right, let's take you out to some of the other fires in the area. The Hill Fire is now up to 95% containment. We're just starting to see that tick upward a little bit more and more. And the good news is the last few days, the Shelley Fire, 100% containment. So we're going to really be taking this off the list of fires that we report on, right? Because we don't have to really worry about it as much anymore. Take a look at the air quality. Now, of course, the worst is around Chester. That's to be expected. That's where most of the smoke has been going. Notice we're seeing some, looks like some smoke and haze making its way into parts of Siskiyou County, decreasing that air quality, most likely coming from the fires in southern Oregon, and kind of in that low to moderate range here for parts of the valley at the current hour this morning. All right, so take a look at the smoke this morning, and then we take into the afternoon. Where's it all going? Yeah, back up to the north and east. Now, it looks like the majority of the dense smoke will be just north of Chester, but probably somewhere within that Chester area. And Susanville, you may dodge a majority of that smoke. Still probably smelling the smoke and that haze, but maybe not as dense as it has been over the last few days. But that may push back down over Chester and Susanville as we go into tonight and early tomorrow morning. And then, of course, as we take a look as we go into Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, same situation, kind of back over Chester and the Susanville area. Now, the winds, the main thing we're looking for is any changes in the pattern. As you know, the pattern is calmer winds in the morning, stronger winds in the afternoon. That's the case here for today. and that'll be the case again here for your Saturday, but nothing unusual, no big wind pattern, no big wind changes. That's what we want to keep. Now, the overall relative humidity, as the temperatures start to drop, we'll see those relative humidities begin to go up. But unfortunately, it's still going to be fairly dry here, especially as we go into the first half of the weekend. We may start to see humidity levels go up a little bit here as we go into Sunday and Monday, but still no guarantees at this point. Take a look at your fire weather risk here for 4 p.m. today. There, of course, the highest fire danger, pretty typical, right, in the north end of the valley. We take you into your Saturday. Notice, not as widespread with that fire danger for the valley, and we're seeing less oranges in the higher elevations. This, again, is the sign of the temperatures dropping a little bit here, and not to mention the humidity levels trying to go up at least. All right, so you can see the monsoon moisture is off to the east. It's going to most likely stay there. As we take a look at Futurecast, what we're seeing here is, of course, still that fog along the coast. It may have a hard time burning off this afternoon. Now, for Saturday afternoon, I've got my eyes on this, and this is I've seen this before, where Futurecast, a few days out, will predict some afternoon clouds developing, cumulus clouds. Sometimes that may materialize into a stray shower or thunderstorm. I'm not putting in the forecast, but it's something I've got my eyes on, but still looking at that fog, looks like out along the coast. And when we look at the long range, all that monsoon moisture, see the afternoon thunderstorms popping up, that's where the monsoon moisture is, and that's where it's staying through all of next week, which means for us, we should remain dry. Now, we do have some cooler air with a trough of low pressure that will be to our north. That trough, as you can clearly see, is having a bigger impact on the Pacific Northwest in the form of clouds, and yeah, even some rain there. But I don't anticipate at this point to see much in the way of rain, if anything, through next week. So again, we're talking about temperatures dropping. The reason being is this high pressure is scooting down to the south and east. This will allow a trough of low pressure, a weak one at this point, by the way, going into the weekend, but strong enough to push that heat to the south and east. We start to notice bigger dips in our temperatures, especially by early next week. And now the long-range forecast model, it's been going back and forth on what this low-pressure system will do, but Wednesday, it's still off toward north and west. Now, the latest forecast models want to bring it down to the south and bring us even cooler air by the end of next week and into next weekend. But again, other model runs, it takes it up to the north. And again, it's the same forecast model that we're looking at. So sometimes it shows that this main area of low pressure is up here, and we're not seeing as big of an impact with that cooler air. But bottom line is this: as this area of low pressure, whether it's here or even up here, it is going to help to bring us a bigger dip in our temperatures by next week. And we look at the 10-day trend, and I just show you Reading because I could show you all 10-day trends for everywhere, but it would take forever, right? So this is the overall trend for everyone, minus the coast, of course. The coast just stays pretty standard, mid-60s. But what we can see here, we go into Friday, Saturday, no big changes. It's still going to be hot. We're still going to be over 100 degrees for Reading and right around 100 degrees south of that. But we're down below 100 degrees by Sunday. The normal high now, as you can see here, the normal high is 99, right? But so that's that blue line there. But look at that, we're down to the low 90s by Monday, Tuesday. It kind of ticks back upward a little bit here, but you'll notice we keep it below normal and basically in the mid 90s, give or take, through next week. What a great change. And this is the help and the relief, at least partially, what the firefighters need. Because what's going to happen is as these temperatures drop, as I mentioned, the humidity levels begin to go back up, and that helps. So the Long Range Climate Prediction Center still has at least Reading southward in that cooler than normal category, and near normal in that gray area. Of course, the warmer air should be off to the east as we go into the long range. All right, here's a look at your wave heights for today. There you can see along the coast anywhere from about 2 to 4 feet. A little bit farther out, you're looking at more like 5 to 6 feet, and you're not going to see much change going into your Saturday. But the main issue, not necessarily the waves, it will be the patchy morning fog and that drizzle that you will see here. But some of that trying to dissipate. But that fog, as you see it, as you saw in Futurecast, it's looking like it's staying fairly persistent, not only along the coast, but obviously out in the ocean as well. So there's a look at your Weaverville 7-day forecast. Yeah, another day today of about triple digits, still close to that on Saturday, but then you're back down into the low 90s by Monday. of next week. Your North Coast neighborhood forecast, as mentioned, not much change for the coast. Temperatures mainly in the low to mid 60s for your daytime highs. I've got mostly cloudy skies, and there's some days you may see clearing, other days not so much. It's very patchy, and that'll be the case here really over the next 7 days. But for the inland areas, also notice the dip in the temperatures, low 90s for the weekend, and then 80s by the time you do get into next week. So again, we'll take those cooler temperatures. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, those temperatures will be in the 90s for most areas. However, today, about 101 degrees for Happy Camp. But again, also, you look at Mount Shasta, you're down into the mid 80s by early next week. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast still in the low to mid 90s, about 95 for El Tourist, a little bit cooler in Cedarville, about 90, and Tule Lake about 91, also dropping down to the mid 80s by early next week. And how about the Eastern Mountains, mainly in the 90s, although Viola about 84, 94 degrees for Paradise, and temperatures down into the upper 80s, at least for Susanville, as we take you into Monday and Tuesday, and not to mention Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Still hazy, smoky, just depending on the time of the day that we're looking at here for places like Susanville, and not to mention Chester. Your Valley neighborhood forecast, you'll notice we're below 100 degrees in most cases for, say, Corning, Los Molinos, southward, just barely. A little bit of that delta influence, right? You got that south wind at about 5 miles per hour. But as we take you to the north, say around Red Bluff northward, you're just slightly above 100 degrees. 98 degrees though for Whiskeytown, 102 for Lakehead. And looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, we do drop below 100 degrees in Redding by Sunday. Low 90s by Monday, Tuesday, maybe a slight uptick by the middle to latter part of next week, with temperatures in the mid 90s. Have a great morning. We'll see you back here around noon.
We're the locals down the street. The neighbor you come to for advice. A nest egg for the golden years. A loan or a new account for that growing business. What started in Chico 50 years ago has taken us all around California, providing big bank lending power and high-tech service, while keeping our relationships personal. We're still the locals down the street, no matter where your street might be. Tri-Counties Bank, California's local bank.